Successful hosts are... I just don't understand how you guys are making so much money with Airbnb. I hated my guests. They were all pains in the ass. A neighbor who briefly ran a short-term rental out of his home. I'm going to give you the number one tip for successful hosting. A successful host sets his ego aside. If you don't, you will be like our friend quoted above, convinced of his own perfection and pissed off any time he received a negative review, even when the guests kept the feedback private. Who are successful hosts? What do they look like? What do their properties look like? How did they get to where they are now? Successful hosts anticipate the needs of their guests and keep their prices competitive. Their rentals are unique, well-stocked, and so much more. You don't have to be each of these things all the time. You don't have to aim for perfection out of the gate, but you need to learn, not just from the lists below, but in the first days, weeks, and months after you open your own STR. No matter how much you plan, how many books you read on the subject, or how many podcasts you listen to, nothing will adequately prepare you for the reality of it all. And you will learn. Oh, how you will learn. Look at what I, and many others, have learned along the way, but be prepared for your own learning curve. I asked myself and Google, what are the hallmarks of a successful host? And the answers to that question are below. Let's look at what successful hosts do and who they are. Successful hosts do their research. Look at who the top performing STRs are on the various rental sites. The big ones, Airbnb and VRBO, are especially important. The first 3 pages of results for your area are the places you want to emulate or beat in terms of appearance and amenities. Look for properties that closely match your own if you already have a place in mind, i.e. you have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Look at the description, pricing, and amenities offered. Take your time, read the descriptions, take notes on what stands out, and think about what you might do differently based on the information presented. How does the host present the property? How can you do it better? Doing your research will give you a good idea of how much you can charge for your own property. Demonstrate creativity. What are others doing? Provide something more, something different or unique that will draw guests' attention. I noticed a lot of beige or even plain white walls in listings while I was still in the planning stages of my STR. In town for a conference, I had recently stayed at Gimpy's, an adorable Airbnb outside of Franklin, Tennessee. And beige and white were the antithesis of what I hoped to provide. I wanted color and comfort, books and art. And I banked, rather successfully I might add, on my future guests wanting it too. Provide empathy. Even when it's totally the guest's fault, show empathy and it can go very far. Did your guest miscalculate how long it would take to drive cross-country and arrived in the wee hours of the morning on a one-night stay? Give them an extra hour to check out. Commiserate with them. Be human. We are in the hospitality business, and kindness goes a long way. Are thorough. The details are so important. They will, in fact, make or break your success as an STR. Take the time to make a lot of lists, or use the lists provided here in this book. Make a checklist of must-haves that you want to provide with your STR. Take your time, look it over multiple times, and then figure out a way to keep those items stocked. I take inventory every 6 months. I also replenish some items, toilet paper, paper towels, Kleenex, analgesics, at every cleaning. Others may be more of a monthly thing. And it isn't just being stocked that is important, but that you examine things like the messages you send. I highly recommend setting up automated messages. More on that later, and what details they include. A successful host looks at every detail of a guest's stay, from accepting their request to welcoming and hosting them, to cleaning up and preparing for the next guest. The entire experience should be seamless and easy for the guest and for you. Have objectivity. Whether you are assessing a property for viability as an STR or rolling with the punches of a critical review, the ability to stay objective will help immeasurably. It's tough when someone gives you a critical review, and you also might be blind to a serious issue with the property you are hoping to rent out. Getting others to provide input can really help. Are optimistic with a healthy dose of self-discipline. Even when finances dip, and they will, you stay focused on the future. Here in Kansas City, I look forward to the busy season, May through August, and I have learned to plan the fix-it projects for when things are slow. And after the COVID pandemic, I learned for a fact that even in the busy season, business can hit rock bottom. When the money is flying in, it can be quite a rush. That said, there will be downtime, time you need to bite the bullet and close for unexpected repairs, even if you don't own the property. Be optimistic, but have an emergency fund handy. Are accountable. Be responsible. Take accountability. Be a professional to the guest. If a cleaning is not up to snuff, own it. Even if you hired it out to someone else, offer to fix it immediately. Did your listing state that you had separate dishes for kids and they aren't there? Go get it and bring it to them. Focus on customer service. What makes a great experience for a guest? A host who cares about their comfort and happiness. Anticipate your guests' needs. I have labeled every drawer and cabinet clearly to make it easy to find things. Have tampons, pads, toothbrushes, analgesics, and more on hand. Your guests will be grateful for them when they have the unexpected happen. Learn from early mistakes. You will make them. Mistakes are inevitable. That said, you can learn from them, and that changes them from mistakes into learning opportunities. Set a fair price. Sure, everyone wants to charge and get the best price possible. But if you can find a middle ground, one that is at a more reasonable amount, you may find that when problems arise, your guests are more likely to give you a little grace. Not always, but enough for it to make a difference. Are as flexible as possible. How can you be more flexible? Consider the following areas. A shorter minimum stay. I've had amazing luck with the one-night minimum stay, but that is because I am close and I'm handling the cleanings myself. Figure out what works best for you, but offer them as many choices as possible. More flexible check-in times. My checkout time is 11 a.m. and my check-in time is 2 p.m., but I try to allow for early check-ins and late checkouts. Allow for self-check-in. I've encountered hosts that insist on being there to greet me when I arrive. That can be nice, but can also be awkward or downright inconvenient if I'm not running on time. Accommodate an extra guest. I've seen guests who nervously ask if it is okay to have an additional guest over. Mind you, we aren't talking about 20 extra guests, a mariachi band, and a full-blown party, just one or two more than what they mentioned upon booking. Unless you have an additional per-guest fee in place, which I discourage, since it makes liars out of otherwise honest people, then let it go. I'm cleaning the entire place after a guest departs, so one or two extra truly doesn't make a difference. Update their property photos regularly. I cannot emphasize how important this is. Set a reminder to do these every 6 months, or after any major change in furniture. Otherwise, you'll get dinged on the accuracy rating on Airbnb and other platforms. Even if they are improvements, folks want what they have seen in the photos. Otherwise, they fall to their rampant fears of being scammed by a host. Accuracy is so very important. More on this later. Start off on the right foot with guests. You are in the hospitality business. Your guests' needs are your priority. Ask them what they need. Food, activity recommendations. Give them easy-to-follow directions and check-in instructions. Make sure they can easily access any needed items. Use labels, notes, etc. Vet their guests. Vetting guests is so important, especially when you are newly open for business. When you are new, that's when the locals and the scammers target you. They are actually looking for listings that have few or no reviews because they are running a scam or because they want to throw a raging party. Your job is to handpick your first 20 to 50 guests and establish yourself with an abundance of 5-star ratings. After that, the flood of ne'er-do-wells subsides. Ask a question like, "What brings you to our area?" And this encourages a potential guest to give you information like, "I'm coming to town for a conference," etc. Examine a guest's profile. Are they new to the platform? Are they local? Do they have any other reviews? And if so, what do the reviews say? Guests often include a message, even if not prompted. "I'm coming in for a wedding," or "I'm in town for a Chiefs game," are good ones. Avoid locals, especially at the beginning. Again, you are a target, unless they have a decent list of positive reviews. I have occasionally broken this rule, and around 70% of the time, I've regretted it. Are well spoken and well written. Words are important, folks, and not just for writers like me. How you speak or write and what you say, and the tone in which you say it, are so very important. You are giving a lot away by how you write and speak. Your education level, your personality, and so much more shows in the words you choose and the tone you write them in. Take the time to set up automated messages and templates on the various hosting platforms so that you can hone your information and instructions into as concise, clear, and judgment-free of language as possible. If English is your second language, or wasn't your strongest subject in school, consider asking someone else for help in constructing clear, concise, well-worded messages for your guests. Well organized. Successful hosts are organized financially and logistically. You will find sample bare-bones spreadsheets and shopping stocking lists for your STR later in this book. They are all easy to adapt to your own uses. A successful host plans for unexpected expenses, HVAC repairs, damages, etc., and has an amount of money set aside for emergencies. They plan for regular maintenance, maintain all supplies necessary for the smooth functioning of their STR, and have an actionable to-do list constantly updated. Are thoughtful. Not only does a successful host anticipate their guests' needs, they also learn and improve with each challenging experience. A guest is also far more willing to forgive a misstep if they have ample proof of how important their happiness is to their host. Think about what you want or need while traveling to a strange city. What might you forget? What would you be thankful for a host to provide to you? Remain open to criticism. Hosts recognize that no matter how perfect an experience they provide, there will be feedback that they can learn from and use to provide a better experience with each guest after. Are business-minded. Despite maintaining a strong, hospitable, customer service-oriented ethic, successful hosts are also aware of the bottom line. They don't hand out discounts right and left, and they have a clear set of boundaries and rules. Remain accommodating and hospitable, even when guests are a pain in the patoot. Guests can often challenge hosts. A successful host knows how to rise above a needy or confrontational guest and still provide the best day possible. Maintain good neighbor relationships. Recognizing that our neighbors' needs and opinions can often be essential to our success, excellent hosts are respectful of their neighbors and try to create and maintain positive relationships with them. Offer a curated experience. Figure out what our guests need and then provide it to them, whether it is gluten-free dining, local art museums, or pet-friendly destinations. A successful host has their finger on the pulse of the city or town their STR is in. We will go into many of these areas in more detail in the pages to come. Next, we are going to discuss what length of stay you are hoping to host your guests for.